show today. We have a very special guest who we're going to be talking AI with. Big day in AI with the Molt book breakthrough. I think it's a good time to pause and reflect, see where we're at with AI in general. So I have Danny Torres. He's the founder of MC Agent, a fully autonomous merchant cash advance brokerage powered by AI. I'm going to bring him here in a moment, but I just want to set the stage for what our conversation is going to be. We're going to watch a video from Geoffrey Hinton, who Danny is a big advocate of, takes a lot of his AI research, applies Geoffrey Hinton's learnings, and I'm sure it's done something to fund the models he's put out. But I just want to set the stage for where I'm at and where he's at in the AI landscape. So I would say in general, AI is an incredibly powerful intuition machine. Obviously, it has so many use cases and covers a lot of what workers in the modern world are able to do. But I would say that it's really just intuiting and repeating things through its training and not yet able to come up with creative explanations. So I don't know what Danny thinks about that part, but what we both agree on is that humans don't have an understanding of how we come up with creative explanations. To me, that means that we have to know that in order to program an AI to be able to do that. I'm not sure what Danny thinks about that as well, so hopefully we'll get into that. But yeah, and then ultimately with Geoffrey Hinton, right? He's a AI futurist, let's say. He's trying to predict the future of what's going to happen with AI, and so we're going to get into a little bit of whether that should be optimistic or pessimistic. So let me pull in Danny now. And Danny, was that a good introduction? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, definitely good. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me, bro.
All right, cool. Appreciate it, man. Okay, so let's get
One
into
thing, one
Geoffrey.
thing that I have to say though, I just have to say that Geoffrey Hinton, if you ever seen his stuff, he doesn't actually he knows enough to not predict the future with AI because it's his predictions have fallen short so many times that he knows now that it's better not to give hard, rigid predictions about it.
Okay, yeah, totally fair. And I think one of the reasons we're doing this is I haven't delved a lot into the world of Geoffrey Hinton. Every time I bring up an argument, you're letting me know, hey, Hinton actually disputes this. He's smarter than you. That part I can totally agree with. But we'll see
Smarter
if
than us,
he's
so
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, so let me pull up this video now, and there's a couple chapters we kind of laid out
my hair's
for
crazy.
discussing. Let's see. Where is the chapter view on this? There we go. All right, so neural networks compared to the brain. I think this is a
Is the
great starting
suggestion?
point that sort of gets at our philosophical differences. So, and John Stewart, by the way, talk about a guy killing it, updating
Super
himself.
funny,
Remember watching him as a kid. Amazing.
super funny, super intuitive.
Then that with enough data and enough processing power, their brains can function identically to ours? Are they at that point? Will they get to that point? Will they be able to? Because I'm assuming we're still ahead processing wise.
Okay. They're not exactly like us, but
Okay.
the point is they're much more like us than standard computer software is like us. Standard computer software,
Right.
someone programmed in a bunch of rules, and if it follows the rules, it does what they expect it to.
That's right. So you're saying this is the
I totally agree with that as a breakthrough. It's way closer to mimicking what a human is able to do, but I still think it's missing sort of that last creative leap.
So, I disagree. Let's just let it play out a little longer so that
All
he
right.
can explain, and then I'll do a little rebuttal.
I feel like I'm at where John Stewart is at with this, and so that's not giving me confidence that my take is going to be right compared to who he's in the room with.
Yeah, let's just see what he says.
difference.
This
Okay.
is just a different kettle of fish altogether.
Right.
And it's
Right.
much more like us.
Now, as you're doing this and you're in it, and I imagine the excitement is, even though it's occurring over a long period of time, you're seeing these improvements occur over that time. And it must be incredibly fulfilling and interesting. And you're watching it explode into this sort of artificial intelligence and generative AI and all these different things. At what point during this process do you step back and go, wait a second?
Okay, so I did it too late. I should have done it earlier.
That doesn't
Okay,
inspire
okay, so all
confidence.
right, so they probably this is a long clip. They probably go into a lot of things, but okay, so in his response to software, there's a big difference between software and AI, right? So software, the logic, it's all coded, right? So there's a difference between logic and the fact that it's very hard to understand this if you've never actually programmed a computer, you know? Um, the nuances of the logic, I would have to get super technical about it. I don't want to get too
Sure.
technical about it,
I
but
wouldn't be able to follow, so fair
yeah,
enough.
and I'm sure the audience wouldn't be able to follow, but like it's where we get to AGI and all of these doomsday predictions is it's both of them working together. So the AI is the handles the nuances of what the logic brings, you know? So
Mhm.
that's we don't have a lot of time, so that's kind of like where I stand with it, because that's where all of these amazing things happen, right? It's not just the AI, it's the logic working with the AI.
Yeah, yeah. The total leap in technology is that software used to be hard-coded set rules, right? If A, then B, then C. And now with large language models, a vast number of possibilities has opened up,
An
and they
infinite
take different
an
probabilistic
infinite amount.
routes.
So
Yeah,
when I started writing my software, I actually asked, because I thought about this. I was like, can we just code, like, theoretically, couldn't every single logical thing that happens in the human brain actually be coded? Like, could you write the code for it, right? Like, let's say hypothetically you could write endless amounts of code.
mhm,
The right answer is yes, but it's also kind of impractical to do so. You would
sure.
probably have to write an enormous amount of code to mimic human behavior, and that's where AI comes in, because, like you said, that it handles the intuition part of the code.
I remember hearing the example all the time of, if you put a monkey in front of a typewriter, eventually it would, type out a Tolstoy novel or like a great classic novel. Just over time and iterations, you would get that. And what I see AI doing is formalizing that so you're not just randomly in infinite space picking different letters and numbers, but it's more focused based off the data it was able to ingest.
Yeah.
I would still say though that that makes it an intuition machine as opposed to a creative explainer. I don't know if Hinton's going to get into that. To be fair, I just kind of
So
picked out two
so
clips
that's
of the
it's
best.
that's the thing. So he explains that, and if you watch a lot of the Hinton stuff, that's how AI works. It's more based off intuition,
Yeah.
right? And that's kind of what separates it from just a regular software. It's kind of it's doing exactly what we're doing, right? So there's dumb people, there's smarter people, there's geniuses, right? What separates us, right? What separates us? Well, I'm asking you that question.
Oh,
What
yeah,
separates?
classically, it's like pattern recognition is the measure of IQ, which is, generally how we test intelligence. But I think what AI is missing is that there's some unaccounted for leap in intelligence in humans that is really specific, and it has to do with creative explanations, and even more specifically, the creative explanations needed to generate scientific hypotheses is what I don't see AI currently able to do. So anything that's been done, AI can ingest, spit out, optimize, but anything that requires new knowledge or new explanations, I haven't seen that, at least in my experiences.
Okay, so the missing link there, Calvin, is the computer code, right? Because it's not just the AI, right? The AI is it's hard to even explain what the AI is.
Mhm.
The missing link is the computer code. So when you put those two things together, that's when you get these amazing results, right? Because it's rules, right? You have rules, a set of rules that is computer code, and then you have AI itself. You mix those two together, and that's when you get magic. Like AI in itself is magical enough, but when
Mhm.
you combine it with the computer code, that's when you start seeing it do amazing things. Why? Because like you said, this whatever you just said, right, with the creativeness, that
Mhm.
can happen programmatically, right? With code. So you could actually have it. It's a binary process. You know what I'm saying? So like what can you explain what you mean by like creative, like so I'm assuming that you're saying
Yeah.
that will it discover new things in the future? Is that kind of where you're getting at?
Basically, like, yeah.
Okay, so the answer is yes. It will discover new things in the future. Why? Because it's not just some rampant thing that's happening. It's something that's incorporated with code. And that's where it gets the hard
Yeah,
rules are from the code and the nuances, and that mixture is where we get to AGI
but the code has to be generated by humans, right? Those hard rules of code that you're talking about blending with AI?
in right now. Right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you
So
that,
that's the
that
question.
so
Totally.
right now, that's the thing though. But so right now, theoretically, you can not even theoretically. I'm sure more advanced programmers, like just to give you a little bit of my background, I just started this like a year ago. I didn't even know what code was. I couldn't even understand. 1 year later, MC Agent is founded, right? So I kind of understand the binary aspect of it. If we talk to somebody who's developing, like who's been developing for 12 years, right?
Mhm.
They're gonna have a completely different take on this. But they'll I think we'll come to the same understanding that it's it's the AI that's mixed in with the logic of the code that is you could have it actually back propagating, and that's when it starts learning from itself. Right. So
Sure.
my current system right now, just to give you an example, my current system, right? It's modeled on off Hinton's back propagation. Do you know what back propagation is?
No, I don't, and I would totally preface that I'm not as
Okay.
technical when it comes to
So
AI.
back propagation is the theory of you input something, right? It outputs something. You
Mhm.
compare that output to what you actually wanted. It calculates the difference between what you wanted and what it output, and then it brings it back and does it again so that it could get closer to exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, I think though still like we're touching on this human element that's necessary, right? Like even what you wanted is a desire from a human. And that's really more what I'm saying, that in order to reach this last level, which is very limited in human intelligence, doesn't appear in all humans even throughout their lifetime. I might say this creative explanation level that's at the beginning of generating new scientific knowledge, it's
But
not
what's
there for just pure AI and back and forth testing, because it's all relying on information that's already present.
exactly, but what's the difference of what we're doing right now in our brains than what it's doing?
Yeah, so what we're doing right now, probably not so much difference, right? We're taking our patterns, using our intuition, and sort of parroting things we've seen in the past to talk to each other. But that's what I'm saying. There's like a limited edge case that scientists are able to do when they're generating new scientific knowledge that comes from these creative explanations, and potentially artists as well. I'm not going to make all those different types of claims, but I think the scientific one has
But
the
like what
hardest
exactly?
rules.
Like what exactly? Like what? Can you give me an example of something that an AI mixed in with code and back propagation can eventually do or do now?
No, I think it could do it with code, because code has a human generator, right? Who is could be testing a human hypothesis.
So why don't we talk about what actually happened? So you brought up the fact, let's get into MOOC, right? Or what's the platform
Oh,
called?
it's
Let's go
It's
to
like
the next
Malt
stage.
book.
So let's get to the next stage, because I think it's really relevant. It's really relevant to our discussion. So
Keep this part going of Hinton, or the last part on
no,
sentient
I mean
AI.
we can move on, or we can go to. We had some talking points, so
Well,
just
yeah, I'm basically running through this, but I think we could keep running with Hinton. He's kind of getting at the pessimism,
I
or
love Hinton, so we could just go
yeah,
on with Hinton.
yeah.
So
Let's keep doing that. Cool. Also, just looking at John Stewart's mug a little bit too long.
John Stewart is. You should have brought us back up. I know we're
Yeah,
experimenting. You should have brought us back up during our discussion.
I didn't know we'd go so far. At first, I was enjoying his side profile, but it got to be a little too much. But
Yeah, when we
we're
have
good to
millions
go
of dollars, then we'll have somebody doing it. So
there. Fair enough.
I should have been more aware earlier, but I was so entranced with making these things work. And I thought it's going to be a long, long time before they work as well as us. We'll have plenty of time to worry about what if they try and take over and stuff like that.
Right.
At the beginning of 2023, after GPT had come out, but also seeing similar chatbots at Google before that,
Right.
and because of some work I was doing on trying to make these things analog, I realized that neural nets running on digital computers are just a better form of computation than us.
Hinton was part of Google's DeepMind project. Is that right?
So he joined them, right? Because
Okay.
he was a tenured professor for a long time doing his research, right? And he self-proclaimed that before he dies, obviously, he wanted to make millions of dollars for his family. So that's why he joined Google. And that was
Gotta
his
respect
reason for
that.
joining Google. So he's a real one. He's a real one. If you
I,
want to keep going
respect the
on the clip,
capitalist.
that clip is really good. It's really good, like I said.
And I'll tell you why they're better.
Yeah. Why?
Because they can share better.
They can share with each other better.
Yes. So if I make many copies of the same neural net and they run on different computers,
Mm-hmm.
each one can look at a different bit of the internet. So I've got 1,000 copies. They're all
Right.
looking at different bits of the internet. Each copy is running this backpropagation algorithm and figuring out, given the data I just saw, how would I like to change my connection strengths?
And this is totally being proved out with what's happening with Moltbook today. There's a bunch of AI agents communicating with each other and sharing in a Reddit style format so quickly. And that, as a generator of, or a sharing of human knowledge, is clearly happening much faster with AI today. That is such
That's
a
just
breakthrough.
gossip. That's it. They're just gossiping with each other.
Yeah.
Like that's it. And it
Yeah.
happened in one day. Like how
It took us thousands of
after
years to
today,
gossip like that.
before today, I was a little less scared than I was before, but now I can say that for sure. It's probable that the days are numbered for humans.
We're cooked. We were only good at gossiping anyway, and now that's all gone.
They're better gossipers because it was entertaining stuff. It was.
Yeah.
Now, because they started off as identical copies, they can then all communicate with each other and say, how about we all change our connection strengths by the average of what everybody wants?
But if they were all trained together, wouldn't they come up with the same answer? Why are they coming up with different answers?
Yes, but they're looking at different data. They're looking at different data.
Oh.
On the same data, they would give the same answer. If they look at different data, they have different ideas about how they'd like to change their connection strengths to absorb that data.
But
that is such a great point, and it's what I've always thought about AI agents too, that you almost need to embed a personality within them, and then you generate, maybe you get closer to generating new forms of knowledge, or you'd like generate different ideas much faster, because even in humans, it's the mixing of personalities that can sort of spark up new things. And then if, agents are all trained on the same thing, they're not as likely to have that sharing of information. But the bulk book thing today, it proved this point out, that they are looking at different data and they are interacting with their almost different personas, let's say.
Yeah, if I uploaded my agent into that, which I'm scared to do, I don't know if I would, and I would not do it, but that they can share within, they can actually, so when we're talking right now, we're sharing data, right?
Mhm.
There, you can actually quantify that data. You can quantify how much data is coming from the language that we're speaking.
Mhm.
That's kind of, I'm not sure if you understood what Hinton is saying. It's hard to get your brain around this, but that's what is going on when we're talking. We're sharing about, don't quote me on this, I think it was 14 gigabytes per sentence, right? They
Okay.
can do it at like an infinite amount. I don't know what the number, don't quote me, I don't want to be on
Sure.
camera, not, but it's like a lot quicker than we can. And that's when
And
he said that they could actually their weights. So do you know what the weights that he's talking about is?
I didn't catch the weights part, but just on the last part of us sharing data, what I would add to that is we're also constrained by space and time. And if you think of a lot of corporate or even technical work today, so much of it is just written communication anyway. But that is asynchronous because human beings have lives. But AIs can just constantly communicate with each other at synchronous times, and they don't have those same constraints. So, yeah, training a bunch of different AI agents on different data, having them communicate sort of shares that data faster and like creates a chain effect of
So
knowledge sharing that
this is the
humans can't
funny
compete
part.
with.
This is the funny part. You understood what he said intuitively, but logically you didn't, right? So you
Okay.
understand what he's saying, but you explained it wrong. Like it's that's kind of like what his whole point was, right? Like where you could understand something, you understood what he's talking about. You understood the overall concept, right?
Yeah.
But you're not able to explain it logically. You know what I'm saying? Because logically it's two different things, man.
Maybe more technically we're speaking of rather than logically.
When I say logical, I think technical. That's in my
Sure,
brain.
sure.
Right? So
Okay.
in my brain, logic and technical is the same thing. It's our intuitiveness. Like I said before, it's our intuitiveness. So you were intuitive there, but the
Yep.
logic that came out was not exactly right. You're close because you don't understand back propagation and what he's talking about, but you
Mhm.
understood the concept. So that's just ironic that that happened.
I tend to live at a conceptual level, and even to my point at the beginning, right, saying how what AI is able to do is intuit. Yeah, not a good sign for me that that's kind of my best skill, but we'll see where that lands me eventually.
Let's look at more of the clip.
Are they also creating data? Is that so? They're looking at the same, and they're at this point, it's all about discernment, getting these things to discern better, to understand better, to do all that. But there's another layer to that, which is iterative.
Yes, once you're good at discernment,
That's right.
you can generate.
Right.
Now, I'm glossing over a lot of details there, but basically, yes, you can generate.
You can begin to generate answers to things that are not rote, that are
Yes.
thoughtful, based on
Just two
those things.
legends going at it.
Who's giving it?
John Stewart's so good at asking
He's so
questions
good.
too, right?
So good.
To,
Like,
he's talking about so many different topics, and he still knows the right. I was just asking that question basically,
it's
and
a
then
concept the concept is in itself is very hard to grasp, but he's asking the right questions.
totally, yeah. And I think this is actually probably where Geoffrey Hinton stepping in a different direction than where I was at, because here he's saying they are able to generate non-rote answers. That's still a little bit different than a creative explanation, but let's see where he goes. He might address that.
The dopamine hit about whether or not to strengthen connections in these at this iterative or generative level. How is it getting feedback when it's creating something that does not exist?
Okay, so most of the
I mean,
learning takes place in figuring out how to predict the next word for one of these language models.
Right.
That's where the bulk of the learning is.
Okay.
After it's figured out how to do that, you can get it to generate stuff. And it may generate stuff that's
Mm-hmm.
unpleasant or that's sexually suggestive.
Right. or
Or
just
it's just
wrong.
plain wrong. Yeah.
It's talking about Grok there. That's Grok specifically.
Grok is actually very
Right.
good.
Hallucination.
Yeah, I haven't really tried it so much. My main use case, like personally for AI, is writing, and Claude is just
They're all
miles
very
ahead of
good.
anyone.
They're all very good at
Yeah.
different things, just like humans.
Yeah, true. They have their own little personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you get a bunch of people
Right.
to look at what it generates and say, no, bad, that, or yeah, good, that's the dopamine hit.
Right.
And that's called human reinforcement learning. And that's what's used to sort of shape it a bit. Just like you take a dog and you shape its behavior so
Right.
it behaves nicely.
So is that when,
Yeah, that's absolutely what you were getting at before, right? That as long as there's some human, there's a code, there's an AI, there's that back propagation, and even Geoffrey Hinton saying like through human reinforcement learning. That part I totally agree with, but that's part of my point because it requires the human. And so even though we're talking about AI discernment in order to generate answers, he's still layering on that human discernment as well
Of
to give
course,
that
it
feedback to
requires
AI.
the human. Of course, it requires the human. But now ask this question: who's in control? Is it the human or is it the AI? Everybody could. Everybody. All of the top CEOs of all these companies have at one point said that they're going to kill us all. But yet here we are, still going. Why? Is it because we're in control or is it because they're in control? Who's in control here? That's the fundamental question. Yeah, I can make a lot of money doing what I do with my company, but at the end of the day, what is that doing? It seems like I'm just a little kid who's getting candy. When we're
Yeah.
talking about intelligence itself, like I told Cal, we're at the 30-minute mark, but we could talk about this for days. And when we're talking about intelligence, right? Who is more intelligent?
On average, right? Yeah, probably an AI. On average,
Yeah, are we
definitely.
not working towards our own destruction?
That I don't think so. But that is a little bit of a different topic. I just think scientific progress ultimately leads to good, but that's pretty like philosophical and a guess.
No, of course,
So
scientific progress absolutely does it. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, what are we actually doing? We're building huge data centers,
mhm.
right? Where the spike in gold, the spike in silver, who is that for? Is that for humans?
Sure.
Is that
That so
for
that's a great point, but I think that point still applies even pre AI, right? Where we have all these corporate entities, we have an economic system, and these corporations outlive humans, and humans feed all this information and labor and work into sort of these abstract ideas of corporations. And maybe now it's getting a little bit more physical with AI since it's like on a I don't know if the physical analogy
that's
works, but
called
it's definitely
so it's
changing in an aspect.
when what is the difference between AI and an AI agent? The AI agent has actual physical tools to access our world.
Mhm.
So that's where we're at right now. They have soon it will be robots, right? That's the ultimate manifestation of AI into our world. Right
Yeah.
now, it's them being able to go into our drive, our email, that's what a tool is. So you give them
Yeah.
this tool, right? But they'll have access to unlimited tools. They'll have access to be able to open a can of soda in your fridge.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Like, how do they change when they have embodiment, when they're actually robots and they are living in physical space? And interesting too, because they will have the constraints of space and time as physical robots, but on their digital side, they won't have those constraints. And maybe in some way, that's how the human mind works as well. But they have access to a lot more information and information sharing. So yeah, that physical embodiment avenue probably could lead to a lot more problems that I haven't thought about enough yet, admittedly. But I think this was a great
the
start.
I think the question that we're all asking ourselves is a question that I kind of dealt with within the last year is, what does it even mean to be human if
Yeah,
a machine can do everything that I can do? And you start realizing, what have we been doing? Like, is this even real? Like, I'm sending an email. Like, what is that? Like, I'm
sure.
sending an email and this machine could do it in a nanosecond and send every email that you've ever sent in your lifetime in 1 nanosecond and
Yeah.
do it better than you did. So what does that mean for what does that mean for you? Like,
And humans in Western civilization for sure, but throughout all of time have, in a lot of ways, defined themselves through the work they do, through the
yes,
labor they put
that's
in. And so,
that.
yeah, if that's replaced,
So listen, I feel like you are at the stage where we are going to agree because you're bringing up points that Geoffrey Hinton has brought up without even watching Geoffrey Hinton himself. So
Mhm.
that's one of the main things. Most humans, they get their personality from their job, right? If you're a
Sure.
cop, you're a cop. If you're a salesman, you are like the best salesman and you killed it today, so you're gonna go have a drink. Like, everyone is, if you're a baseball player, like that's your personality. But what happens when you have no job? Like, your job is, think about it. There's going to be a time where we can have cameras everywhere. AI can monitor everything. So
Yeah.
we don't need cops. What happens then? We'll have 0% crime because everything is getting monitored. If you're going to go steal this little, there's a camera there and it's going to catch it.
That'll put my creative explanation theory to the test. Can we creatively think of a way to do different work or generate new work outside of what AI is capable of? So yeah, this will get borne out in real time, regardless of what you or I think right now. Eventually, we'll
It's
find
hard
out.
to tell. It's very hard to tell. So
Yeah. All
we'll
right.
see.
Well, Danny, thanks so much for coming on. I think we might do a little Geoffrey Hinton series and kind of go back and
Nice
forth
little
on
Geoffrey Hinton series,
some
bro.
of
We
this
got to
stuff.
keep this going. It wasn't enough time, but appreciate you for
Absolutely.
having me, bro.
I'm a new dad, so my time is restricted, but maybe we could get an hour and next time I'll look for that.
Go do your dad thing, man. So,
Amazing. Thank you so much, Danny.
all right, bro.
Talk later.